It's one of those great meditative opportunities, isn't it? When you can pick up an instrument, look at it, and know that you can mess around on it.
Yeah, just go. This last 3 months has been a transformative time for me. My wife and I spent a chunk of time on Vancouver Island, and we had this little cottage for a week. We just completely chilled, and every night I was jamming.
The man's voice you're hearing right now, if you don't immediately recall it, I guarantee you on a subconscious level, you're excited. And if you're new to this country and perhaps hadn't crossed paths with this man's voice and sounds over the years, what a treat you're in for. In my home tonight, Fred Penner. Welcome.
Hey, pleasure. True pleasure. And I'm going to turn this phone off so it doesn't go beeping in the middle of our conversation.
But I always wondered what kind of crazy ringtone did you have? Is like your ringtone like F the Police by NWA?
It should be, but no, it's pretty boring. It's some kind of beep. I don't know. I'll change it to the theme song from Strombo.
Oh yeah, well we can get you one of those.
Yeah.
You have to write that first. Hear the Music is the record. You have a lot of really beautiful artists.
Oh, what
collaborating
it
with
was
you on
unbelievable.
This.
What a treat having them on board.
Is this born out of that time you spent on the island?
The album, no. This happened last about a year ago.
Yeah.
Ken Whiteley and I started putting pieces together. I brought my bank of tunes to his studio, and we just started working them through. And about 5 years ago, I started working on a project with Hawksley.
Yeah.
A duets kind of thing, and then we both got really busy, and it never really evolved into something. But the folks over at Linus Entertainment, they were excited about continuing that idea of doing a more or less a duets kind of thing, and so we started putting out the feelers to who do I know and who's available to do this trip. And the Good Lovelies and Ron Sexsmith, and I wrote a Spanish tune, so Alex Cuba came in.
Amazing.
And
one of our
Afi
favorites is Afi from Bahamas.
Oh, he's brilliant. He brought something special, of course, as they all did to the project. He came up with an idea that he didn't think we would ever go for, but we loved it.
But you loved it.
Yeah, it was really a treat.
Basher Balat's on this, whom we also love. She's been in this house many times, and I think one of the great performers in this country.
Truly.
Tara Lightfoot.
Tara is just a sweetheart.
Have you known Tara a long time?
No, I think we met at Hillside a while back. I mean, she was part of that Fred Head generation.
Yeah.
So she was really excited about meeting me, and I was excited about meeting her because she works through Paquin Entertainment as well.
Right.
So we had just a beautiful connection, and
Fred Head is so funny.
my wife and Tara bonded at the Hillside Festival, and now we in regular communication with her.
I love it. Fred Penner is here. He's got his guitar. We're going to play some other songs that he likes. We'll maybe you'll give us some requests. Do you want to start by playing one of the tracks? What do you want to play?
I'm going to do the title track from the album. It's called "Hear the Music," and I think I was saying earlier, I'm not sure if we were running or not, but it's the first song that I actually wrote the music before I did the lyric. Usually it's the other way around. I do the poetry and then the song just sort of flows out of that. But Paul O'Neill, my guitar side guy, we were in Edmonton, and one morning I was down having breakfast, and this pattern came into my brain, and I thought, oh gee, I like the way that feels. So I rushed up to the room, got out the phone, turned on the super note, and made sure I didn't forget it. Because if you don't write it down or record it somehow, then it'll just drift into the ether.
Where did it come from, this one?
Who knows?
The gods put it in you.
Yeah, it was just suddenly. I love
it. Let's hear it.
That's a nice little pattern. So what would the lyrics be? Well, I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around me. I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around. There's the clickety-clack as the train goes by. Sound of a jet plane in the sky. A couple of dogs barking down the street, saying, hi, how are you? When they meet, a little bird sitting on my windowsill, singing a song, what a trill. A baby and her brother laughing in the house. Cats in the corner, quiet as a mouse. Oh, I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around me. I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around me. Yeah, boom. walking to the corner or standing still. My eyes and ears never get their fill. Maybe hot and sunny or a gentle rain is tap, tap, tapping on my window pane. 'Cause the world is turning, I can feel the beat from the tips of my fingers to the soles of my feet. I love life and everything I do is all about the rhythm and the songs for you. Oh, I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around me. I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around me. When the sun goes down, the night gets cool. Sound is like a ripple in a swimming pool. Good vibration, you know is there, dancing right beside you as it fills the air. No matter who you are, no matter where you go, music is a part of your heart and soul. So come on people, here's the thing, you're bound to feel better every time you sing. Oh, I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around me. I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around me. I hear the music, I hear it all around me. I hear the music, I hear it all around me. I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around me. I hear the music every minute of the day. I can hear it all around me.
Nice. When did those lyrics? The lyrics come shortly thereafter.
Oh yeah, once it starts going and you have a concept, that's the hardest part of the whole creative piece for me. Is there's so much to write about. You know, you ask me to write a song. Well, give me some parameters. Let's break it down, and then I can go somewhere.
I like this because it's not even. I mean, it's not a kid's record. It's kind of for people.
That was
everyone.
Well, when I talked to Jeff Kulovic, the head of Lioness Entertainment, he said I'd love for an album to be, you know, broad enough, inclusive enough that a whole family, parents, kids, grandparents, could put it on and say, yeah, I can relate to that. You know, it's the universal topics. Music is all around you. Right. So that was the challenge, and away it went.
It's got a nice bluesy folk thing too, as well, especially in the very beginning.
Well, you know where this whole thing came from originally is. Put the lime in the coconut, you drink 'em both up, you put the lime. It's a one-chord song, and I've never written a one-chord song in my life. I thought, oh, can I get away with it? And then with Ken and with the other voices coming in, and with that nice little pattern, it sort of takes it away. But I've given away the secret now.
No, you shared it.
I shared this.
Here's what I realized. There are a lot of people who can do it. They just don't do it. So the sharing of the secret is just empowering people to sit back and do it.
There you go.
And the ones who actually follow through, they're the ones who are entitled to the secret. Are you happy these days?
I'm really happy. I've gone through, life transition in the last number of years. I went through divorce, and I have 4 kids and 3 grandkids, and my...
Do all of them like you? Do you like all of them?
I love all of them.
Yeah.
They're really doing some lovely things in their lives. I mean, being strong parents. My eldest daughter, if you've met her, Haley.
Yeah, Haley. Yeah.
Yeah, Haley's living in LA doing the music thing, and that's moving up the level. She did a few songs that have had exposure in the film world, and the latest Queen Latifah movie, Girl Something or Other. There's a tune that she has, and anyway, so she's doing really well. I'm proud of them all, and I do like them all. That's not always the case, though.
Not always the case.
That's why you asked that.
Yeah, and especially when you're going through something that can be described as transformative, because to transform. It often suggests, not always, but it often suggests that you were looking around for a minute and didn't know what you saw, maybe who you were, where your life was going. There were lots of changes. That, we all have those. This didn't go the way I wanted to, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
But you looked around and went, what is this vastness and how did I get here? And I was just curious where you were at before the transformation.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, I've been doing this for 45 plus years.
Yeah.
You know, basically on tour since the early '70s when I made a decision to going back. I had a sister who had Down syndrome, and she passed away, and my dad died a year later. So I had that mortality check that put the.
You were young, right?
Yeah, I was 20, in my early 20s, and it was okay. Well, let's see what I can do. I don't want to be an economist, as my dad would have liked, but so I started exploring the music world, and it just grew, and then marriage evolved from that, and 4 children, and ultimately that dissolved. And
How long were you married?
30 years.
I mean, that's a success.
Oh yeah, it was big success.
Yeah.
You know, we did the best we could with what we had, but we love our kids, and we're still in communication. And but once that sort of ended, I realized that I was not finished exploring in my life. I mean, it was I turned 71 last November, and it was I've got another third of my existence that is in front of me. What am I going to do with it? And Ray Ellen Bodie is my wife, and she's a vocal teacher, works with actors. She's a coach, and she's just such a power in my life, and we just really enjoy and love and care about each other, and building lots of R&R. So we just came back from Vancouver Island a few months ago, and it's so I'm in a pretty good space right now.
Do you feel like you've been to the mountaintop and you've seen?
I had a dream the other night.
Nicely done.
Oddly.
Nicely done. I mean, I didn't mean it that way, but nicely done.
No, oddly enough, I mean, my dreams tend to be pretty descriptive and powerful when I remember them. And in this weird dream, I was, I'd been somewhere this night before, and I woke up in a big wicker chair on the top of a mountain.
Oh.
And I thought, where am I? And there were 2 people who were sort of, guarding me. And I sort of woke up, sat around in the chair, looked out, and the Pyrenees Mountains panorama was sitting there in front of me. And I was just, so I've been to the mountaintop and back.
Well, listen, that means you have things to tell us.
That's weird.
You have
Apparently,
things
yes.
to share once you've seen it.
Oh golly, what? There was some weird. Have you watched Jerry Seinfeld and the comedians in Cars Drinking Coffee?
Yeah.
I forget which comedian. It may have been Chris Rock, but saying that he thought this joke once upon a time that if he talked to talking with the Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama said, "Tell me a joke or something," and he said, I always thought that if I was talking to an enlightened master, or if a wife was talking to an enlightened master, he says, "So what are you going to do? Sit around the house all day?"
That's a good joke.
He didn't laugh. The other monks who were from America found the humor in it, but
it's pretty funny. We have Juno Weekend. Last year we did it. And you were at this event, and when you took the stage, the reaction was unbelievable.
Hanging out with Sloan and all those people, and doing what goes up.
Yeah, that's right.
A little bit of David Clayton Thomas with Sloan was a highlight of my life. Yeah, that's a great concept that you're doing. That idea of doing a cover and an original tunes.
Well, it's everybody's in an algorithm world now. Most people stream their songs of a certain generation, which is totally fine. But what you can't you can't have a human being accidentally share something with you in that setup. You can't. So I think the most important musical developments happen when somebody says, "Yo, you should hear this."
Yeah.
Because they see something in you that maybe you don't even see, and they think, I think you'd like this.
Yeah.
An algorithm can't pick that up. I don't hate algorithms, but it just can't pick it up. So for us, when we were putting that together, we're like, what do we think? What do we feel would be a great combination? And that's why it was so important for us to have all that range of artists there. Yeah. And to have you there.
It was. I was so delighted and honored to be there. And that connection, so I have you and the folks to thank for that. I'm not sure who the PR company was, but through that link, that got back to the people who were setting up the C3, the Coast to Coast to Coast journey of
Yeah.
that icebreaker called the Polar Prince that was tracing the entire coastline of Canada last year from Toronto to Victoria. And they asked me to be part of leg 5 on that, up from St. John's to Nain.
That's great.
With for about 12 days with just an incredible group of scientists and journalists and musicians, and it was such a high point of my life doing that trip. But that's through
that night.
Through that night. So the connections
Music,
never.
man. Music
yeah,
is it.
Yeah, look out.
For sure. You want to play another song for us?
Yes, I do. I love. This is that. I find it because I've been thinking more and more of myself as a guitar player. I mean, I've got a pretty good knowledge. I've not studied, but from the '60s, I've learned some patterns, some tracks, some Travis picking, and that kind of thing. And then Doc Watson, blind guitar player, who's sort of an iconic folk blues player. So this tune came in, and I spent some time working on it, and it's just got a really lovely picking pattern.
I'm going to put some on the streams for this.
Let it rain, let it pour, let it rain a whole lot more, 'cause I've got those deep river blues. Let the rain drive right on, let those waves sweep along, 'cause I've got those deep river blues. My old Sal's a good old pal. She looks like a waterfowl when I get those deep river blues. There ain't no one to cry for me, and all the fish go on a spree when I get those deep river blues. Give me back my old boat, I'm gonna sail it if she'll float, 'cause I've got those deep river blues. It's gonna take me down to Strombo land, and maybe George will lend a hand.
Always.
When I get those deep river blues.
That's a nice cover. Fred Penner.
Thanks.
Let's go back now. Let's talk about music in your life. Here's what I was thinking. So my mother's husband, so I guess my stepfather, is a lovely man. We were out for dinner one night. We were talking about music. This is when I was a young kid. We were trying to relate to each other, right?
Yeah.
And I'd asked him about the first time he heard something that was really something. And he said he remembered being in gym, I think he was in Manitoba at the time, and the coach had a record player in his office.
Okay.
And some kid got the first record from this brand new artist, put it on side one, they dropped the needle on cut one, and it was Purple Haze's, Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. It was brand new.
Oh,
and
my.
He said it was like the Pied Piper. All the boys were just drawn to that office. What is this?
Yeah.
And you were talking about that, the folk artists, the blues artists of that era. You would have, for the first time, heard things that have since gone on to become the pillars of our life musically. What do you remember from that era? Like the songs that you were listening to when you were really young that just really reached you?
Well, I'm from the folk world. I mean, I was born in '46, and you know,
Yeah, he was
and went
47,
through,
yeah.
yeah, and I went through just this incredible array of song when I was growing up. My parents were into classical and the swing stuff. So listening to the Dorsey Brothers and Benny Goodman, you know, as a 8, 9, 10-year-old was, wow, I like that swing groove. And then my older brother and sister were into the boy bands of that era.
So you're talking about, if you're talking about 55, 56,
Yeah.
right? You're thinking it's just as Hound Dog hits the radio.
Yeah,
It's
that's right.
just as Elvis is about to start.
Yeah.
So childhood was very different.
Well, it was. I mean, there was still the innocence was happening, and you know, and Mom kicking us out of the house at, you know, go play for a while, and
Yeah.
and I remember, I'm completely off a tangent, but I remember growing up in the PMQs, the permanent marriage quarters. My dad was in the army, and I remember a street that hadn't been paved yet, and I remember walking to not a field, but a forest area, and walking through and finding old wagon wheels and arrowheads, and you know, but that's completely unrelated to the music world.
No, but it was just part of your discovery, like those
Yeah.
moments alone. And again, I don't have kids, but I'm also not that old guy that wants every kid to get off their phone, because I see the value in opening the world up.
Yeah.
It's something amazing out there. But the idea of being bored, I think parents don't put enough value on it. And I say this as a guy who's interviewed a lot of artists, and not but the kids I talked to in my Much Music days weren't as young as the kids you first were talking to, but I watched the kids develop artistically, and the kids who were bored ended up finding things, and in part found themselves.
yeah.
And so I think that's cool that you're out there strolling this unpaved and unassumed road, finding arrowheads.
Yeah, just it was such an open world, and discovery was part of it, and that, I mean, that's really an interesting thing, giving kids the opportunity to be bored, because now we're so concerned about their safety,
Yeah.
that you fill up every waking moment of the day. Actually, Fred Penner's Place came out of that,
Yeah.
to some degree, because the idea when they asked me to do a series back, you know, in those days, '85, Dodie Robb from Kids TV here in Toronto said, "What would you like to do?" They didn't have a concept, just a
Yeah.
person that they thought might be good for it.
Yeah.
So I went back in my memory banks and thought, what do I want to pass on?
Yeah.
And I remembered places when I was growing up, in a backyard or under an old upright piano. I remember hiding there and sort of cozying in and watching Roy Rogers on television and Bullet running through the woods. And that cozy spot, that place where I felt completely relaxed and chill, and just my thoughts can go wherever they want, I wanted a place where kids could come that would have that kind of protectiveness to it. So you've got to make the journey across the field and finally crawl through that hollow log into this environment. And it was really important for me to have some place where kids could feel protected and safe.
Culturally, for a lot of kids, things changed for them when the Beatles came out. When the Beatles came out, they became a buying power.
Big time.
In a way they had never been. What do you remember from that?
That was 1963.
Yeah.
I was Kelvin High School, Neil Young days. Neil was at Kelvin for a couple of years.
Did you cross paths with Neil?
Yes, but
Yeah.
no. You know, he was in his. We were in the same environment.
Yeah.
But he was in his own world and trip. He was the rocker then in the Fifth, and then left there to be part of Buffalo Springfield. But my memory of Neil was seeing him surrounded by people constantly. You know, he had that charisma that people just wanted to touch the hem of his gown, you know,
To be healed.
or get into the '55 Chevy hearse that he drove.
I bought a '71 El Camino and drove to LA because Neil did that. I read that when I was a young man. So you were there at the time, and someone has and then the Beatles hit the radio.
The Beatles hit the radio. I Want to Hold Your Hand. She Loves You, and everybody started combing their hair down. Yeah. I did that, and the girls went crazy. It was, wow, he looks like a Beatle, looks like a Beatle. So it was really, amazing. It was unbelievable. The depth of that song, of those songs, those early Beatles tunes, was, people were freaking out.
What was so interesting, too, and I know people have talked about the Beatles forever, but it was really new for those guys to step up and to have written those songs.
Yeah.
People forget that at that point, it was just a pretty boy in front
That's
of the
right.
microphone.
Yeah.
So there was a sense of artistry to that. Did that have an influence on you?
I didn't know about that. You know, I was the straight little high school kid singing Gilbert and Sullivan in the operettas and that stuff. No, I was a pretty straight kid back then, and I'd been playing guitar for a few years, and I was the guy at the back of the ski bus, singing Gordon Lightfoot and Joni Mitchell, and as we went to the ski hills. Well, there are a couple of ski hills in Manitoba, contrary to popular belief.
How far out do you got to drive to get to them?
Not far, about 2 hours north.
Yeah.
McCreary, Manitoba.
It's like Toronto, a couple hours, you can get a garbage dump that's now a ski hill.
Exactly. But that was the beginning of my sort of real performing time, was doing the coffee houses and playing there. He hadn't written any songs yet. It was all cover. And I didn't start writing until the sort of early 70s, when things began there.
Thanks for your time today, man. What a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you.